Last video, this corner of my yard went from killing every plant I put in it to soil a jar test could barely distinguish from the healthiest section of my entire garden. 8 weeks of consistent work got it there. So here's the question nobody ever asks in a gardening video, including me, until now. What happens if I just stop? No more compost, no more mulch top-ups, no more careful watering schedule. I wanted to find out how much of that recovery actually sticks and how much of it quietly needs me to keep showing up forever. This isn't a small question, and I don't think it's an exaggeration to say it might be the most important one in this entire series so far. Every method, every recipe, every ratio covered up to this point has been built on the assumption that someone is actively paying attention. Real life doesn't usually work that way. So before this curriculum goes any further, I wanted to know exactly what you're actually signing up for when you do this work, a one-time investment or a commitment you have to keep making forever. Every video in this series has been about building something up, feeding dead soil, comparing composts, layering mulch, combining it all together. Not one of them asked what happens after you stop paying attention, and that's a real gap because that's exactly what happens to most gardens. Life gets busy, a season passes, the compost pile you were feeding religiously in spring gets forgotten by August. I wanted to know, honestly, whether the biology this series rebuilt is now self-sustaining or whether it's more like a plant on life support that collapses the moment you walk away. So I took the same corner from the last video, the one with 8 weeks of combined compost, mulch, and consistent watering behind it, and I stopped everything. No more compost applications, no mulch top-ups as the existing layer broke down and thinned, and critically, no more measured watering schedule. I let it rely entirely on whatever rainfall came naturally, exactly the way most of this corner's original neighbors in my yard have always been treated. I tracked it for 6 weeks using the same tools this entire series has relied on, the handful test, the jar test, and a final planting comparison at the end, run against a matched sample of soil I'd saved from the day maintenance stopped, so I'd have an honest before and after to measure decline against, not just a vague impression of things looking worse. I also want to name something about how I approached this test that's slightly different from every other video in this series. Every previous experiment here was built around adding something, a treatment, a variable, a deliberate change. This one is built around deliberately withholding, which turned out to be a strange discipline to hold myself to. More than once during these 6 weeks, I caught myself standing near that corner with a handful of compost in my other hand, ready to use on a different part of the garden, and had to actively remind myself not to touch this specific patch of ground. If you try a version of this test yourself, that's worth expecting. Doing nothing on purpose is oddly harder than it sounds once you've spent weeks actively caring for something.
Chapter 1: What I Actually Expected. Before showing you what happened, I want to be honest about my prediction going in because I think it matters for how surprising or unsurprising the result actually turned out to be. I expected fast, dramatic collapse. My working theory, based on nothing but instinct, was that 8 weeks of intervention was still a short, fragile head start, and that without continued feeding, this corner would slide back toward its original dead state within a matter of weeks, essentially erasing most of the progress from the last video. That prediction was rooted in something real from earlier in the series. Remember the store-bought potting mix from video 2, which looked great for 3 weeks purely off a fertilizer charge, before collapsing once that charge ran out? I worried the combined treatment from video 7 might be doing something similar underneath the surface, producing an impressive result that was actually more fragile than it looked, propped up by active maintenance rather than genuinely self-sustaining. I want you to hold that expectation in your head as we go through the results, because the actual outcome challenged it in a way I didn't see coming, and I think the reason why says something important about the difference between feeding a plant and rebuilding a soil. There's a real reason this question matters beyond simple curiosity, and it's worth naming directly. Every method in this series so far has assumed an engaged, attentive gardener, checking in regularly, applying compost on a schedule, topping up mulch as it thins. That's a fair assumption for someone filming a documentary series about it. It's a much less fair assumption for someone with a full-time job, a family, or simply a few weeks of life getting in the way. If everything this series has built only holds up under constant maintenance, its usefulness to most actual gardeners is a lot smaller than it might appear. I think there's also a broader pattern worth naming here, one that reaches beyond gardening entirely. Everything worth building, a habit, a skill, a relationship, a garden, raises the exact same question eventually. Does the effort you put in early create something that holds its own weight going forward, or does the whole thing quietly depend on you never once looking away? I didn't set out to make this video about anything beyond soil, but I think the honest answer here says something true about a lot more than dirt.
Chapter 2, Weeks 1 through 3, Holding Steadier Than Expected. By the end of week 1, almost nothing had visibly changed. The mulch layer, no longer being topped up, had thinned slightly as it continued breaking down into the soil beneath it. But the handful test still showed the same loose, crumbly texture from the end of the last video. Week 2 brought the first real test of the rainfall-only watering since we went 4 days without rain in the middle of that stretch. I checked moisture at the same depth I'd used throughout this series, and while it had dropped compared to the actively watered period, it hadn't collapsed the way bare, untreated soil would. That's a meaningful result on its own. Remember from the mulch video that shredded leaves were the strongest performer for moisture retention among the 3 materials tested, and that mulch layer, even thinning, was still doing real work without any help from me. I want to sit with that 4-day dry stretch for a moment because it's a genuinely fair test of exactly the scenario this entire video is built around. A 4-day gap without rain, without you checking on your garden, is not a dramatic act of neglect. It's an ordinary week. It's a work trip. It's a busy stretch at your job. If a soil this recently rebuilt couldn't survive 4 ordinary dry days without visibly suffering, that would tell you this whole approach only works for someone with the time to babysit it constantly. It didn't suffer, and that's the first real piece of evidence in this video that something durable had actually been built, not just temporarily propped up. By week 3, the jar test showed something I genuinely didn't expect this early. The organic band in the jar test measured roughly 8 millimeters thick at the end of video 7 at peak recovery. By week 3 of neglect, it measured around 6 millimeters. That's a real decline, about 25%, but it's a controlled decline, not a return to the essentially invisible band this corner showed back in video 1. Worm counts followed a similar shape, down from 9 per handful to 6, a meaningful drop, but still firmly in the range this series has treated as evidence of genuine biological activity throughout every earlier video. Chapter 3, Weeks 4 through 6, where the decline actually leveled off. This is the part of the experiment that actually answers the question this video opened with, because the second half of the test didn't continue declining at the same rate as the first half. It slowed down, and by week 6, it had largely leveled off. The jar test at week 6 showed an organic band only slightly thinner than the week 3 reading, a small further decline, not a continued free fall. Worm counts held steady at 5 to 6 per handful across weeks 4 through 6, rather than continuing to drop toward the 0 this corner started with. The texture, when squeezed, still held together in loose clumps, still nothing like the dry collapse into dust result from the very first video in this series. Here's the mechanism I think explains this, and it connects directly back to something covered in video 3, the 30-day recovery video. Once a soil crosses a certain threshold of biological activity, that biology becomes at least partially self-sustaining.
Worms that have established themselves keep tunneling and reproducing without needing fresh compost delivered on a schedule, as long as there's still some organic material in the system for them to process, including whatever's left of that slowly decomposing mulch layer. Fungal networks that formed during the active feeding period don't necessarily die off the moment feeding stops. Many can persist on existing organic matter in the soil for a meaningful stretch of time. In other words, 8 weeks of active feeding didn't just produce a temporary result propped up by constant input. It crossed a real threshold, and what's left 6 weeks after I stopped everything is a soil that's declining slowly towards some new lower equilibrium, not one that's collapsed straight back to where it started. I checked one more thing at week 6 that I hadn't planned on measuring going into this test: the thin, thread-like fungal structures first noted back in video 7. They were still present, though visibly less extensive than at their peak. That persistence lines up with the broader pattern here. A genuinely established fungal network doesn't necessarily need continuous feeding to survive, at least not over a 6-week window, though it does appear to need at least some organic material remaining in the system to keep going, which is exactly what that slowly decomposing mulch layer was still providing. I think it's worth drawing out the actual shape of this decline curve because it isn't a straight line, and that shape matters. If you'd plotted these results week by week, the steepest drop happens early, weeks 1 through 3, and then the curve visibly flattens across weeks 4 through 6. That's not how a simple linear, no more inputs, straight downhill process would behave. It's much closer to how a population of organisms behaves when it's adjusting down to whatever level the remaining resources in the system can actually support, then stabilizing there rather than continuing towards zero. That's a genuinely different mechanism than the soil just running out of stored nutrients on a fixed depletion schedule, and it's the reason I keep coming back to the word threshold rather than something like head start.
Chapter 4. The Planting Test, 6 weeks into neglect. To close this test the same way I closed the last one, I planted the same tomato variety in this now neglected corner, alongside a fresh comparison pot with soil I'd saved from the exact endpoint of video 7, at peak recovery, before any neglect began. The plant in the peak recovery soil, predictably, performed the way the treated corner did at the end of the last video. Strong, even growth, deep color, no signs of stress. That result served mainly as a confirmation that my saved soil sample was a fair baseline for comparison. The plant in the 6 weeks neglected soil grew noticeably slower than that baseline, with slightly less vivid color and a modest gap in height by the end of the test. This corner clearly wasn't performing at its peak recovery level anymore, but, and this is the part that actually matters, it was nowhere close to the outcome from the original dead soil back in video 1. No yellowing, no stunted, translucent stem, no struggle to even establish itself. It was a noticeably weaker version of a healthy plant, not a repeat of a dying one. That gap between weaker than peak and back to where we started is the entire finding of this video, and I think it's the most practically useful result in this whole series so far for anyone who's not going to maintain a feeding schedule forever. I measured a couple of additional details on both plants at the end of this test that I hadn't tracked as closely in earlier videos, specifically because I wanted this comparison to be as fair and complete as possible. Stem diameter on the peak recovery plant measured noticeably thicker than the neglected soil plant, consistent with everything else in this result. Leaf count told a similar story. Fewer, though not dramatically fewer, true leaves on the neglected soil plant by the 6-week mark. Every single measurement pointed the same direction, and every single one landed in the same place. Real, measurable, but moderate decline, not collapse. Quick pause before the final read on this one. If this series has been genuinely useful to you, hit subscribe and turn on notifications so you catch what's coming next. We're 8 videos into 10 now, closing in on the end of this curriculum. Back to the results. Chapter 5.
what this means for anyone who can't maintain a schedule forever. If you've watched this whole series and felt a little discouraged by how much active work went into rebuilding that original dead corner, this video is genuinely good news, and I want to make sure that lands clearly. The work isn't a subscription you have to keep paying into forever just to avoid losing everything. It's closer to a deposit into a system that, once it crosses a real threshold, starts holding a meaningful amount of its own value without your constant involvement. 6 weeks of complete neglect produced a noticeable decline, not a collapse. That's the difference between feeding a plant, which stops the moment you stop feeding it, and rebuilding a soil, which keeps functioning at a reduced level off its own internal momentum. That doesn't mean neglect is a strategy I'd recommend, and I want to be clear about that too. The trend across these 6 weeks was still downward, even if it slowed. Left alone for another 6 months instead of 6 weeks, I have no evidence this corner wouldn't eventually slide all the way back to where it started. This test simply didn't run long enough to answer that longer question, and I'll flag that honestly rather than guess at it. What I can say with confidence is this: a light maintenance schedule, even something far less intensive than the original 8-week protocol, an occasional handful of compost, a mulch top-up once a season, is very likely enough to hold on to most of what this series built, rather than needing to repeat the full intensive process from scratch. That's the next thing worth testing directly, and it's exactly where this series is headed next. I also want to speak directly to something I suspect a lot of people watching this series are quietly worried about, because I was worried about it too before running this test. There's a real fear when you're new to gardening that any lapse in attention undoes everything you've worked for, that soil, like a fragile machine, needs to be constantly monitored or it breaks. What this test actually suggests is closer to the opposite. Soil biology, once genuinely established, behaves more like a resilient, self-regulating system than a fragile one. It doesn't need perfection. It needs a real foundation, built once, and then just enough ongoing attention to keep from sliding too far. That's a far more forgiving relationship with your garden than most beginner advice implies, and I think it's worth saying out loud plainly instead of leaving it as an inference buried in a data chart. 6 weeks of doing absolutely nothing to this corner produced a real decline, but not a collapse. The soil that killed 3 tomato plants a year ago is still, right now, meaningfully more alive than it was before this series ever started, even without a single new intervention since the last video. That's the clearest evidence yet that rebuilding soil biology isn't the same as feeding a plant. It's building a system that, once established, has some genuine momentum of its own. If you've done any of the work from this series in your own garden and you're worried about keeping up a demanding schedule forever, this is your answer. You don't need to maintain the intensity of the original recovery indefinitely. You need enough light, ongoing attention to slow that gradual decline before it becomes a real problem. I want to close this one on something a little more personal than usual because I think it's earned at this point in the series. When I started this whole investigation with a jar of water and a handful of soil that had killed 3 tomato plants, I genuinely didn't know if any of this would actually work, let alone whether it would hold up once I stopped paying attention to it. 8 videos and roughly 4 months later, I have an answer to both of those questions, and it's a better answer than I expected going in. Depleted soil isn't a life sentence, and the fix isn't a treadmill you have to stay on forever. It's a threshold you can cross with real, if imperfect, staying power on the other side of it. In the next investigation, I want to test exactly that, the minimum viable maintenance schedule. Instead of full neglect or the full 8-week protocol, I'm going to apply a light occasional touch to this same corner and see how much less effort it actually takes to hold steady rather than slide backward. If you want the full week-by-week decline data from this test, it's laid out in the Soil Intelligence Handbook, linked in the description below. See you in the next video. Until then, keep gardening.